Okay, can you hear me okay? All right. Mr. Troche, I'm not quite sure. I'm not able to see where we are in terms of attendees, but I believe it is 6:30, and so I'm thinking that we should probably get started. All right. Well, I want to first of all thank everyone for being here tonight. We've advertised and we've hoped that people would show up, and we thought ahead and knew that this would be best to be a virtual event. And so thank you so much to the class of 2023 and their families for being at our virtual junior information night. We've got so much information. We don't want to delay in getting started. And so I will proceed with our presentation. For starters, we have a wealth of expertise on our panel. For starters, I want to introduce our counselors, who you can see here on the screen. Students and families should know who we are by now, but you can see our names listed as well as the parts of the alphabet that we serve. Who you do not see tonight is Ms. Stevenson. She's our counseling secretary, and Ms. Talamante. She's our counseling guidance technician. She's very instrumental, especially as things relate to testing, AP and IB testing. And so that's a name that you'll be familiar with in the coming weeks and year. All right, so as I said, we are so glad that you're here. First thing I wanted to really emphasize tonight was just to remind everyone to take a deep breath and relax. Even though things are very uncertain and feel kind of up in the air, we're going to get through this together. And so we always plan this event at this time of year because we know this is when those questions start coming in from all of our juniors and the families about classes to take next year, colleges, how to be prepared, testing. So you're in the right spot tonight. We're really glad that you're here. Please note that the full presentation is on our CHS website. So if you would like to download the slides, you have access to that. Also know that you can ask questions in the Q&A box. So as we're going tonight, because we have a lot to cover, we won't be able to answer every question live, but we will answer some questions after each presenter. The rest of the questions, go ahead and feel free to drop them in that Q&A. And while we have our presenters here with us for the duration of the program, they will be able to answer your questions if you go ahead and input those. Please keep an open mind. You're going to hear a lot of different options. Some students come in thinking they know exactly what they want to do and where they want to go. And a lot can change in a year, as we've seen in the last 2 years. So please keep an open mind. You may be here tonight because you're really interested in UC, but I would encourage you to listen really carefully to CSU, to community college, all the different things that we have to offer for you tonight. Few other things that I want to emphasize, and I'll go through this really quickly because again, you'll have these slides, but I think the key is to find balance. There's a lot to think about in terms of having a successful completion of your junior year and a successful senior year and a successful pathway as you move forward. So on your screen, you can see just some basic ideas that we want to remind you of just to help you along the way. Because the main thing, none of this matters. College, financial aid, none of that matters if you're not healthy. So students and parents, get enough sleep, go to bed, get some rest. That's really important. Make sure you're taking time to decompress. This time last year, we were really shut down. And even though we're still somewhat shut down, we've had some freedoms to be able to get out and exercise. So important in terms of keeping your mental health and your physical health intact. Take mental breaks in whatever ways you can in terms of yoga, meditation, eat well. Students, stay organized. You're going to notice that on our CHS website, we have a timeline of important dates, and we will be giving you a hard copy of that as well when we meet with you for junior credit checks. But stay organized. You can see when things are coming up. Stay organized. Practice good habits. Okay. Coffee all day, all night isn't the best habit. That's a quick fix, and it doesn't really help in the long run. So practice good habits to keep yourself intact. Ask for help as you need it from your teachers, from your counselor, from your parents. It's okay to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. And as we go through this process, remember, it's progress, not perfection. So with those things in mind, Please sit back and enjoy as you hear from a wealth of expertise. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce for you somebody you all know, Mr. Jeremy Troche. He's going to acquaint you with school links. Mr. Troche, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell. Well, this will be a very quick introduction, and I will mention at the end where you can find more information about school links, including tutorial videos on every bit that I talk about tonight and a whole lot more. Just real quickly, School Links is new to Claremont High School. We transitioned last year from our college and career readiness platform known as Naviance into this new one called School Links. Yes, we did that in the middle of a pandemic, which was a challenge for all of us, but I think you as students benefit from that because we actually have a lot of online materials now that we didn't have before with Naviance. One of the big benefits of School Links is students don't have to remember their login. It's the exact same as what they sign into Google accounts. In fact, when they're signed into Google accounts on their iPads or on another computer or device, that will automatically sign them into School Links. And we'll show you that in a second. Link for School Links is right here, apps.schoollinks.com, but there's a faster way to get to it by going to the Claremont High School website. So Nick, if you go to the next page for me, thank you. On the CHS website, this is the counseling page. So when you go to Claremont High School, click on counseling and click CHS Counseling Department. This is the page you'll see. That lower right-hand corner, that link, the first link is School Links, and that will take you to that link, app.schoollinks.com. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Mrs. Mitchell. Thank you much. And this is where students will sign in. Now, the only place I've seen students have problems with signing in is they choose the right-hand side and put in their Google, their CUSD email and password. That's not where they're signing in. They're going to use the sign on with Google under single sign on. This is, if we have a problem signing in, this is where it's going to be. So students click on that and that'll bring them to the School Links homepage, which is the next slide. There we go. And this is what a student will see. I'm using a demo student, but this is exactly what a student will see when they log on to their account. And one of the key things we want them looking at is that to-do list in that kind of big block on the right-hand side. When the to-do list pops up, it will only show tasks due within the next 4 weeks. So right now, we're only looking at tasks due in January. So if you click the show remaining to-dos, go to the next slide, it'll show that. There we go. It's going to pull up the rest of the tasks for the rest of the year. The idea behind this is we want students working on their college applications, working on their finding careers, looking at finding majors over time and not trying to compress this into the last month before school ends, or as many of our students do in August before senior year. And so we will be coming out with more information to students on each one of these tasks, including videos that help them go through that. Many of those have already been made, but we will try and communicate with students so they know exactly what they should be doing as their second semester of junior year progresses. Go to the next one. When a student, back up one more. Sorry about that. Thank you. When a student clicks on one of those to-do lists, you're going to get this little drop-down menu that gives you a little bit of information about what they're doing. Right now, I'm looking at the Find Your Path assessment. If you click on that green button to the right that says Go to Feature, that's going to take you directly to it. You don't have to hunt and try and find how to get to that particular feature. It's right there under the to-do list. So go ahead and go on to the next slide. And one of the ones our students should be doing right now is the Find Your Path feature. This is an interactive tool that goes through some preferences for students to help them find career paths that would fit their personality, their interests, their likes, and hopefully lead to potential major choices down the road. Our students will do several career assessments through the junior year. Most of them have already done one when they logged on to School Links initially. Some of our students have already done this one as well. It's really good information to have a conversation, students with your parents and parents with your students, about potential careers in your future. Let's go to the next slide, Mrs. Mitchell. Another important, this is going back to the career thing. I'm skipping ahead there. Going back to careers, another great feature of School Links is it allows students to really look into some of the career options that they have in front of them and look into job openings where those particular careers are most in need or most in demand, and also look at average salaries for those careers. Again, this is a great conversation for parents and students to have together about major choices and career paths the students are taking. Go to the next slide for me. Perfect. Back to our home screen here. And as we go down into the college section in February, you'll start seeing some of these learning units. There we go. These learning units, they're designed to help students explore different options. Now, you may not be completing all these, and that's okay. Understand we have a lot of stuff due right there on February 28th. We get that. Your student may not need to complete all those. It's really dependent on what the student's goals are, but these are some of the options that are available to them. Go ahead and click on the next one. Perfect. Planning for life after high school. You're going to hear a lot about that today from presenters who are much more knowledgeable than I am, but kind of get you started and starting to think. Students, you need to think about what kind of colleges or what kind of education after high school you're planning to do, what options you're looking at, and where to start looking for colleges. The answer to that right now for you is school links. We're going to show you how to look for colleges and school links in just a second, and I have videos galore on this. We've done, I think, 3 different videos on it, and it's a really good opportunity for students to start searching for colleges that actually fit them. So go to the next slide, Mrs. Mitchell. When I talk about fit, this is what I'm talking about. I want students to be looking at the location of the school size, sports, admissions requirements, their GPAs, their test scores, the degree types. But beyond just that, we're hoping to have students look for schools that fit who they are, their personality, their interests, their values. All of that is important, students, as you start looking for schools. Go to the next slide. Thank you. To do that, our suggestion is using school links and using their college search function. Okay. One of the nice parts about this particular function is you can pick different areas that fit you as a student. If you want to say, find a school that offers Division III basketball, men's basketball. If you go to sports, you can narrow down schools to that. If you want to stay in California, you can choose to only look at schools in California. If you want to get as far away from your parents as possible, you can choose to look at schools on the other side in New York. All of those are options for you as students to search and narrow down your school list. That's something that all of our juniors should be doing this year. And in fact, by the end of the year, Ms. Mitchell, go to the next slide for me. I think it's the next slide. There we go. By the end of the year, it is hopeful that our students have created a balanced list in school links and for themselves. What I mean by balanced list. So a balanced list takes a look at your schools that you've chosen and categorizes them into 3 different categories. Likely schools, and these are schools where you're very likely to get in. Okay, you fall above the 75th percentile of admitted students, and that school accepts more than 50% of its applicants. Target schools Target schools are what we would call right fit schools, schools that really fit your academic profile. And then you should have reach schools as well, schools that you are below their academic profile. Now, I always like to tell students, a reach school is not UCLA when you have a 1.0. A reach school is a school that you are capable of getting into, although you're on the lower end of their accepted students. Next slide, Ms. Mitchell. Thank you very much. And this will be probably the most important thing I talk about, and that is where to find more information on school links. On the Claremont High School website, if you scroll over to the right-hand side under counseling links, where it says CHS Counseling YouTube channel, there is a whole playlist on school links that will detail a lot of things that your students will need to do. We will be sending out links to these videos as these months come up, instructing your students where to go look and giving them direct links to that channel. However, if you want to get a head start, students or parents, get acquainted with school links a little bit better, this is a great place to do that. And I think next slide, next slide, Ms. Mitchell.
Let's see. I'm trying to move us forward.
Other direction. If you just click on the screen, it should go.
Yeah, it's locked for some reason. Here we go. Let's try that.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Troche. That was a ton of information. You summarized it fantastically. Before we move on to our next presenter, I'm going to ask, are there any questions from our counselors who are monitoring the chat? Any one question that Mr. Trosh might be able to answer?
Not at this time. We can
Okay.
move on.
All right. Well, with that, I am going to go back, and I am so pleased to introduce someone who's been with us year after year after year. We appreciate her tremendously. Students and parents, you're going to meet her again in the fall because she actually does our presentation for financial aid night for our seniors. But you're getting a sneak peek and a summary of what you need to know financial aid in just a few minutes from Miss Tamara Lewis from the University of Laverne. So Miss Lewis, we'll let you take it away.
Okay, how about I turn it off mute? Thank you so much, Nikki, for the introduction. I am always excited to come by and say hello and to give you a little tidbit of information. You have got it, you're excited, you're going to college, you've been admitted, everything, you're telling your grandma, you're telling everybody I am in college. Then the big question comes up, how am I going to pay? That's what I'm here to help you with. I've got 6 bullets really quick that I'm going to go through. And again, I'll be around in the springtime. You can call me, anything like that. FAFSA. FAFSA is an acronym for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. For those of you students who have brothers or sisters in college or parents who've already done the FAFSA before, the one thing that has changed is the request for a young man to have to register with the selective service. That's gone. It might be on the FAFSA. It won't be on there when you guys do it, but students that are doing it right now, it's still on there, but they just have to either say no and bypass it. Your biggest pot of the money is going to come from the Department of Ed. So you want to make sure that you complete a FAFSA application. Don't let anybody tell you, nah, don't do it, you don't get any money. Just do it. That first F stands for free. It's free. It'll take a little bit of your time, but just do it, because who would have thought that we'd be masked and I'm not there seeing your faces? Life happens. So you want to make sure that you get that FAFSA application completed when it's your time and have those sources available to you just in case. Second thing, years ago, we used to just write our signature. This is called a pen. Okay, you would write your signature on there and then you put it in an envelope and send it on. Now we have electronic signatures. So what you have to do is get you what's called a FSA ID number. That's usually your email address and a password. Each student has to have their own, and a parent needs to have one. If your family's mom and dad, it could be mom or dad. If it's just mom or dad, one person needs it. Parents, if you have other children if you apply for financial aid, you do not need another FAFSA user ID. You just use the same one for the student that's going into college a year from now. Next one, for our dreamers. Our dreamers, unfortunately, aren't eligible for federal aid, but fortunately, they can apply for money from the state of California. Yay! And there's a separate application for those students that are dreamers, and then they have to get their GPA in to the California Student Aid Commission by March the 2nd. And then you will be applying for money from the state of California. Can you take that money to Colorado schools? No. All that money is for right here in Cali, Cal. So that's a good thing. Then I was asked to talk a little bit about the CSS profile. The CSS profile is an online application that's used by colleges and scholarship programs to award institutional funding. What is institutional funding? That's money from the school. You have federal funding, institutional funding, money from the state. That's institutional funding. When do I need to do that? Probably in your senior year. You want to go to College Board, and it'll go to College Board, and then you'll see USS CSS profile. And even for students that are going to college for the 22-23, CSS profile has a tutorial. So if you have a few minutes, you can go on there and look at it and see what the information that they're asking for you. You also want to make sure that you, when you're talking to the different colleges, ask them, do they require the CSS profile? And they'll either tell you, yes, they do, or no, they don't. Okay, now I've done all of this, Ms. Tammy. What am I going to be trying to apply for? You're applying for different types of aid that's going to make up the resources that you're going to use to help you pay for college. That could be Cal Grant. That's money from the state of California. That's your Cal Grant A, B's, and C's. Then you have scholarships. And then you have the big, what I call the big, if you see my hand, the big L word. L word is loans. Now, don't be too scared about the loans because the interest rate is low. You only can borrow a little bit, every year you stay in college. But sometimes the loans can help you out. If you just need a little bit, then just borrow what you need. And then I call it practice debt. You can practice on keeping it, talking to the lender, to the Department of Ed, and when it's time to go into repayment. And then you don't have to pay it back until you finish school. So that's a good thing. And then finally, you have the net price calculator. The net price calculator, I'm looking at my notes. The net price calculator is available on college university websites, and it allows prospective students to enter information about themselves and find out what students like them paid to attend the institution in the previous years. Since you guys are juniors, you're being really proactive by even attending. So the net price calculator might give you an idea of what you might have to contribute or what the financial aid would look like when it's time for you to go. So you want to take advantage of the net price calculator. And finally, scholarships. I cannot press upon you. You're always applying for scholarships all the time. You're asking your mom, dad, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, everybody, I'm going to college. When it's time your senior year and you're going to have a celebration, put you 3 jars outside and say, this is for my books. This jar is for my tuition. This jar is for my room and board. And ask them to put some donations in there so that when you're ready, you'll feel good about what you contributed to your college education. And I will be around here if you have any questions. Done.
That's a tall order to cover all of financial aid in 5 minutes, but
Mom,
you've done it. I will add, students, when you download the important dates, in addition to important dates, we give you different links, and we'll be talking about this with you in your classrooms and when we meet with you one-on-one. But there are links that get you familiar with different scholarship websites so that you can look on FastWeb and you can get familiar with different scholarship sites to help you identify ways to actually apply for scholarships. Are there any questions, counselors, that we should address now regarding financial aid? And families, just so you know, what we'll do is we're going to try to address the questions that tie into the presenter. Just so while we have them right here, we can get their expertise on that. Are there any questions for the group?
There is a question about veterans' dependents and educational scholarships and access.
good question. It would be easy probably to get that information from the like the Veterans Association or the veterans to see what benefits the veteran has for the student. The reason why I know I live with a veteran, and he was able, our daughter was able to get benefits at one of the Cal State schools. And he went through the Veteran Association at the school. They have a veteran rep at the school that gave us direction on what we needed to fill out and what we needed to do to take advantage of that benefit.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
We have a couple more questions I think would be great to answer now.
Okay.
When should we start applying for scholarships, and On the same vein, how do you apply for scholarships?
Scholarships, Miss Nikki gave a FastWeb. That's a great way because FastWeb asks you to put a profile. And so you'll put a profile name, address, phone number, your major, when do you plan on attending college? And then you want to give them a good email address. You kind of want to maybe make it separate from your regular emails. This is my college emails. And I guarantee you, once they'll do a whole big old search of different scholarships, and they'll start sending you emails. And the emails will have deadline dates and what you need to do. And then you're asking probably the end of your junior year, beginning of your senior year in the summer, you're just asking people. You're asking your friends, hey, you got a scholarship, how did you get it? You want to make sure that when you're asking for scholarships, you want to ask, are they renewable? Can you get it the next year and the next year after that when you're applying for it? So that's kind of how you start. Just start talking. I had a student really quick, was walking home, saw Circle K, went in the Circle K, asked, do you guys offer scholarship? The manager said, sure we do. Nobody ever asked. Boom, there's a scholarship for you. So you want to just make sure you get in touch with people and just ask.
And I know one of the things that Ms. Lewis talks about in senior year for financial aid night is places of employment. So families, parents who have employers, many companies will offer scholarships. It's just a matter of researching. They could be small insurance companies. It could be big companies like Toyota. But in any case, you'll discover that lots of different companies and organizations do offer scholarships. The key right now is looking to see what those requirements are so that you can be prepared with whatever essays or portions of the application that you will need to submit at that time. Okay, great questions. And so with that, I'm going to move into our next presenter. And I want to emphasize how fortunate we are that even though we have presenters who are coming from specific campuses, they're giving you general information tonight. So you're getting a lot of general information that you can hopefully apply because you don't know where you're going to be going to school. You may not know the exact school, but having that resource of knowing some things about the Cal State system is going to help you overall. And so with that, I want to go ahead and turn our attention to, rewind. I'm going to turn our attention to Dr. Jennifer Miller-Thayer, who is actually representing Citrus Community College, and she's going to give you some really insightful information about community college in general and how that could be part of your pathway. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Miller-Thayer.
Hi, thank you. Can you move to this first slide for me, please? I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And I also want to let you know that I'm a first-generation college student who also is a graduate of California Community College. So please know that you can start at community college and you can go all the way through and get a PhD. So this is a good starting place for a lot of people. With that, California community colleges are the largest higher education system in the United States, and there are over 1.8 million students and 116 colleges in that system. 1/4 of community colleges in the United States actually attend community college here in California, and 1/3 of Californians aged 18 to 24 are actually current California college students. Next slide, please. Thank you. And out of that, 51% of Cal State University graduates and 29% of University of California graduates transferred there from a California community college. So you can come to a community college and pretty much go anywhere that you want to go. I have a student right now who's actually attending Yale, who was my student at community college. So think about that. Almost half of the UC bachelor's degrees for STEM degrees are awarded to California community college transfer students. Next slide, please. These next two slides are going to show you some notable community college graduates and students. Some of them graduated from California colleges, some from other community colleges in other states, but you'll see you can be in very good company. So you can see a variety of different occupations and different directions that people went, and including politics, a NASA astronaut and the first woman space shuttle commander, right? Entrepreneurs, civil rights leaders, authors. So think about that. There's a lot you can do. California community colleges offer several different services. The main thing that we do are provide associate degrees and ADT degrees, and you'll find out more about ADT degrees coming up in one of the other presentations, so I won't spend too much time on those, but those are transfer degrees. We prepare students to transfer to four-year colleges and universities. That's our main function, but we also provide workforce development training, vocational certification training, and lifelong learning. So you don't have to actually be attending community college for a degree. You can come and take classes just for your own personal enjoyment and enrichment. Now, there are a lot of benefits to attending a community college. For one, they're close by, so students can save a lot of money and they can stay living at home, so that can help a lot. And we were just talking about financial aid, so this is actually a good financial option for a lot of students. They're affordable. They're about $46 per unit and in California, and that is the lowest in the nation. So that actually makes them very affordable options for that first 2 years of college. And it also gives you the opportunity to find yourself, figure out your major, to grow, to build your student skills. So let's say you're not such a great student right now and you have a 1.0, you can come to community college and you can build your skills and you can learn how to improve your student status and then transfer from here to another school. So think about that. And if you're not sure what your major is and you know kind of what you're interested in, but you're not sure what you want to do with that, come to a community college and start to figure it out. You can take a lot of different courses and experiment and figure out who you are and what your interests are and where you want to go. We had a lot of support services. We have tutoring services, skill building workshops. We have a veteran center. So someone was asking about veteran opportunities. So you could actually even come to the veteran center at Citrus College if you want to, if you're close by and want to stop in. They can answer those questions too. They can help you figure out if it's best to go into the military first or go to college first. So you can ask veterans there and their support staff. We have EOP&S programs and DSP&S programs to support students in a variety of ways. We have a lot of transfer agreements with those four-year universities and colleges, and sometimes it's easier to be a transfer student, especially in an impacted program, than to go in straight from high school. So if you're interested in going into a field that's very impacted, community college might give you an advantage to get into the school that you want to go into and to the program that you want to go into. We also have a lot of opportunities for very motivated students who might be interested in leadership or service or research, study abroad. So we'll talk more about that. In this next slide, I'm going to start with that by telling you a little bit about the honors transfer programs. So community colleges have honors programs, and I highly recommend that you check them out because they give you smaller class sizes, they give you different learning opportunities, and we can also provide you with a lot of those transfer benefits. So if you are interested in that, check out the honors programs while you're there. If you want to be more challenged, if you want to be in situations where you get more hands-on learning and things like that, that could be a really good opportunity for you. And just to give you an idea about these transfer agreements, a couple examples are one that's called TAP, Transfer Alliance Program with UCLA. In 2021, the non-TAP students who transferred from Citrus, 11% were admitted out of those who applied. The TAP certified students from the honors program, 81% were accepted. So think about that. That can give you a huge advantage in transferring. So think about the honors programs. We provide community and networking with peers and faculty. There's leadership, service, and research opportunities, and you get priority registration, which can help you as well. STEM programs are also available at community colleges. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics programs. We have STEM counseling and tutoring, supplemental instruction, which often takes the form of hands-on learning opportunities or project learning opportunities. There's peer-to-peer mentoring, STEM learning communities, teacher preparation programs, if you're interested in teaching those in a K through 12, student research opportunities with universities. An example is Project RAISE with Cal State Fullerton, providing these research opportunities. There's summer research programs, so lots of opportunities in STEM. We also provide what are called CTE, or career and technical education, so certification programs. So programs in administration of justice, automotive technology, cosmetology, nursing, child development, all sorts of opportunities. So if you need a certificate to be able to go into the career that you want to go into, check out the community college, because this is a place that you can get that certification. Next slide, please. We also offer really great programs like study abroad. And these pictures are actually from when I was teaching study abroad in Costa Rica in January 2020 and February 2020. So it gives you kind of a little taste. I got to zip line through the jungle and stay at other spaces where we went on river tours and things like that, as well as learning about coffee. And that's one of the main crops that are in Costa Rica and things like that. So it's a great opportunity. You get to study in a new culture and learn about that space and place. And it also teaches you a lot about yourself. So if you get those opportunities, think about that. We're scheduled to actually go to Kyoto, Japan in summer 2022, London, England for fall of 2022, and Paris for winter of 2023. And I'm scheduled to teach there. So hopefully that will happen. We'll see. But think about study abroad. And we also have programs like the Citrus Singers and Performing Arts. And the Citrus Singers they're phenomenal. And they have actually performed with the London Philharmonic. They have won an international singing competition, and they're the only American group to do so. So phenomenal. And they end up in great career opportunities as recording artists and musician instructors, and they work on cruise ships and other kinds of performance spaces. We have great arts in ceramics, drawing, and painting. We have Getty Museum internship opportunities. So there's a lot there at the community colleges. And so the last slide that I have for you is just my contact information, and you can always contact me if you have questions about community college in general, because remember, I was a community college graduate, I am a community college graduate, and I'm a first-generation college student. So if you're interested in that, let me know, or the honors program. I do see a question actually that's asking the minimum GPA to be accepted. So for the honors program at Citrus, and the minimum for a high school student is 3.5. If you don't have a 3.5, come take a semester at Citrus, and then if you have a 3.0 or higher, you can apply.
Thank you for that. Are there any other questions that we're noticing in the chat that Dr. Miller-Thayer might be able to answer?
It is weighted 3.5, yes, that came in right now.
One thing I will add, I had a student several years ago, I guess about almost 4 years ago, and strong student, had his mind set on UCLA, only wanted to go to UCLA. He could have gone to a lot of places, only wanted to go to UCLA. And Alex didn't apply very broadly, but he was okay with the idea that, you know what, if I can't go to the school that I really want to go to, I'm going to go to Citrus. And he could have chosen any community college. He chose Citrus. And every year he comes back. He came and saw me, I think it was December 16th. He comes usually at the holidays, but he came back to let me know that he has transferred. He was at Citrus for 2 years. I think he was an ambassador there. And he is now finishing up at UCLA. I want to say it's architecture. But in any case, he's a success story. And one of these years, he'll hopefully be on our panel as well, because like Dr. Miller-Thayer, he's an example of, if you can't go exactly where you want to go right out of high school, sometimes the best route is through that community college, which I think she said 81% transfer rate. So that's something to keep in mind. Thank you so very much. Very good information. And with that, we're going to go ahead and segue into our next system, which is the Cal State system. And we have the privilege of having with us again this year Ms. Dulce Guerrero. She's an outreach counselor at Cal Poly Pomona. She will be giving you an overview of information about the Cal State system. Students, this is a good person to know, because many of you, because Cal Poly is our is a feeder school for a lot of our students. It's our service area school. Many of you will be applying to Cal Poly Pomona, but in any case, she's going to give you some ideas about the Cal State system in general. So I will let Ms. Guerrero take it over.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good night, everyone. My name is Dulce Guerrero. I'm one of the outreach counselors. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here and providing you with information on another option, the California State University system. You certainly have access to the QR code if you want to get connected and receive latest updates from our institution. May I please have the next slide? All right, so the Cal State University system, the goal of the Cal State was designed to provide quality, affordable education to California residents and prepare you with the skill sets that you need to be successful in the job market. As you see here in the state of California, the map here, you have 23 options, and we're all over California. There's Cal States in Northern California, Central California, and even Southern California. So again, that is something to look into as you are researching for opportunities to pursue after you graduate from high school. Again, I understand that a lot of students oftentimes want to go a little bit further, but again, if you want to go far away from home, you can still do it within California. There's 800 miles between Humboldt and San Diego, Cal State. So again, know that within the Cal States, there's going to be options within different degrees. There's over 4,000 options in the form of bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, doctoral degrees, and the Cal States do provide information in terms of the modality. Some programs are offered through classroom attendance and others online. And the Cal States are the nation's largest and most diverse university system. So nearly half of the bachelor's degrees that are granted in the state of California do come from Cal State. And we're really happy in that we do provide opportunities for students to pursue their education and graduate. Every year they award over 100,000 different degrees from all of the Cal States. And even with the pandemic, last year, we actually broke a record where the Cal States actually granted over 300,000 different degrees within the Cal States. So we're really happy about that. Next slide, please, Nikki. So not only do the Cal States provide affordable quality education, but they also provide what they call local area preference. So every Cal State works with a geographical area and they work with certain high schools. And so they do provide local area consideration of its applicants. So as you see here, a quick example from Cal Poly Pomona, these are the unified school districts that we work with and private institutions. And as you can see, certainly Claremont Unified School District is one of our local areas. So basically what does this mean is if a student is applying to our institution to a non-impacted major and you meet minimum requirements, and certainly if you apply and you abide by deadlines, definitely there's going to be an opportunity for you to receive an admissions decision from our campus. Unfortunately, if you're applying to a major that's highly competitive or impacted, they cannot give you local area consideration, but they definitely will give you that priority as well. Next slide. All right, so a couple of rankings when it comes to the Cal States. All of them will receive certain different rankings, but certainly what makes us notable, we have been ranked top public institutions in the West. Also, we've been ranked for most innovative schools and also for social mobility. So again, students that graduate from the Cal State are able to pursue a profession and do well academically and also professionally in the job market. They're great contributors. They stay in California, many of the graduates, and they work here and they definitely promote the economy. When it comes to unique and notable programs, all of the Cal States have their very own. Some that Cal Poly Pomona have, for example, we do have internationally recognized business degrees. We also have a hospitality management program that features a student-run hotel and a 5-star restaurant. So again, there's a lot of great opportunities that you're going to have. Many Cal States will have similar degrees. Others will have their very unique ones. And some of them that we also have that we're very proud of are accessible STEM programs that we offer as well at the institution. So again, can I have the next slide, please? Definitely keep the institutions in mind. Cal Poly Pomona is one of the 2 polytechnic institutions within the Cal State system. Basically, that means that you will have a very rich hands-on learn by doing curriculum that is embedded with opportunities of activities and labs. In addition to that, we are very key in our geographic location where actually we're close to 4 major counties. And when it comes to the actual career fairs that we put together, we are able to bring in a lot of people from the industry that are seeking to employ our students. So again, We are by the LA County, the Orange County, the Riverside County, and the San Bernardino County. And again, these are great opportunities when employers are seeking students and students are seeking employment opportunities. Although we are considered to be a mid-sized campus, close to 28,000 students, the feel of the classroom is small enough where you can build that connection with the faculty, and the ratio right now is 28 students per faculty member. And we are very happy about our faculty that we have that are very rich with expertise and research that they bring into the classroom. The type of learning that you get at the institution, there's a lot of different opportunities as well. Not only will you have the opportunity to access undergraduate research opportunities, but you can also study abroad with any of the 20 different countries that we have connections with. Can I get the next slide, please? All right, so quickly, just for you to take a view of the profile, this was for the class of fall of 2021. Just be mindful that every year the actual profile does change. This particular year, we did receive over 41,000 applications. They admitted over 25,000 students and over 3,400 students enrolled. And the average GPA was at 3.57. Can I get the next slide, please? So let's go ahead and transition to admission requirements. And I know some of the questions that were coming in on the Q&A regarding the SAT or ACT. Do know that because of the pandemic, many of the Cal States had to come up with a multi-factor admissions criteria, meaning that they were looking at not only academic factors, but also the non-academic factors, experiences outside of the classroom. For the last 2 years, we have not been asking of our applicants for the SAT or ACT. Students certainly have the option to test, and if they do test, they certainly have the option of submitting the scores. However, the scores were not being utilized for admissions consideration. They're being used to determine the placement of science and math for students. But do know that right now we're early on in the presentation providing you with information, and our Chancellor's office has not made a formal announcement for the fall class of 2023. So please be mindful of that. Certainly I will give you access to my contact information and you will be able to connect with me. But at the moment we are unsure if we're not going to be accepting the SAT or ACT. So again, just connect with me in the future. When it comes to the eligibility index, each Cal State has their very own and they do things a little bit differently. When it comes to the academic requirements, we're still looking for the A through G preparation courses. A student has to have a 2.5 GPA, and each Cal State is now looking at assigning pointage for additional criteria that's based on outside of the classroom experiences. So they're going to be looking at factors such as if the student is considered to be a local area student. Do they have work experience? Do they have special circumstances? They're looking for average GPA of math and science courses, etc. And again, each Cal State does vary how they do their eligibility index. Can I show you with the next slide? Actually, it's going to come after this, but again, I just wanted to give you the reminder that these requirements have changed for the Cal States. We are still looking at the subject area requirements. The 2 years of US history and social sciences, the 4 years of English, the 3 years of mathematics, certainly the 2 years of science with a lab, 1 biological, 1 physical, the 2 years of language other than English and the same language, the 1 year of visual and performing arts, and then 1 year of elective. A C- or greater is definitely required to receive credit. And again, if students opted in the years that we were affected with the pandemic in the year 2020 and 2021, if they opted for a credit or pass, the Cal States are honoring those particular grades as well. So moving on, how we actually do the multi-factor admissions model, it's a mathematical formula where they're going to be putting your son or daughter's A through G GPA from the 10th and 11th grade. It is multiplied times 1,000, and just for applying to Cal Poly Pomona, students get an additional 450 points. So know that 86% of the decision is still derived from the academic work from a student, and about 14% of the points is derived from the non-academic factors. So as you see there on pass 2, the institution will be looking to see if a student is local area, again, if they're part of an educational program, if they're doing extracurricular activities. So just to give you an idea of the max points that they can earn, if a student is applying to a non-STEM, non-impacted major, they can earn up to 5190 points. And if they're applying into a STEM-based major, they can actually earn up to 5271 points. So again, this is how they determine the eligibility index. And again, I cannot stress the importance that every Cal State does provide different points and they do things a little bit differently. And I just wanted to give you a closer look at how we do things at the institution. We also, how our students are going to show their out of the classroom experiences. When they apply this particular fall term that's coming up, they're going to be able to indicate their work experience, their participation in educational programs on their Cal State Apply application. Can I have the next slide, please? So Cal Poly Pomona does have impacted majors, 16 of them. And as you see them listed here, from aerospace engineering all the way to psychology. Again, these programs do require increased selectivity. And again, unfortunately, they cannot provide local area consideration guarantee, but certainly they're going to definitely keep an eye on these students that are applying from Claremont High School if they're interested. Again, they are looking at those students from local area, but again, they cannot guarantee admissions into these programs. Next slide. So again, the application will be available on Cal State Apply. It's an online application where a student can create an account. It'll be available October 1st and it'll run all the way to November 30th. Do know that there is a $70 application fee for processing of the application. However, each applicant will be able to apply for a fee waiver. And if they do receive it, they will be able to submit their application to up to 4 different Cal States without being charged. And do know that decisions will roll out in February and March of the following year. And also, if they're accepted, they're going to have to submit their admissions by May 1st. And if they take AP examinations and their final transcripts, they will be due July 15. And do know that they will have access to a student portal that they're going to be able to check for updates. Next slide, please. Do know that we definitely pride ourselves in building community, and do know that your students will definitely have the support services that they need to be successful. And that is definitely in the area of mental well-being, health well-being, and academic resources, and also inclusivity. We do definitely have student cultural centers. We also have an undocumented student center, student support and equity programs on campus to get students acclimated and comfortable with our community. Next slide, please. Do know that applying for financial aid is very important, and Mrs. Lewis provided a wealth of information. Encourage students to apply. Let the institutions tell you what you're eligible for. Don't get discouraged. There is definitely the FAFSA and the DREAM Act application that students will be able to file October 1st to March 2nd. Putting down the proper code for the institution will be very important, because that is the way that our actual financial aid folks are able to access the information and later advise the students and families what they're eligible for. About 70% of our students do receive some form of financial aid. Next slide. Just to give you an idea of the cost for Cal Poly Pomona, the annual tuition, and this is for the entire year for fall and spring, is $7,438. And if you were to add additional costs, that includes travel, that includes books, that includes possibly living on campus or off campus, the annual cost for attending could be between $20,000, a little bit over $20,000, all the way to $28,000 if the student is living on campus. Keep in mind that students are not mandated to live on campus. Again, that would be something that would be optional. But again, tuition is at $74.38 at the moment, and it's an annual tuition. Next slide, please. Do know that definitely you can get connected with Cal Poly Pomona. There's a couple events that are coming up. We do have Super Sunday coming up in February, where we're doing outreach to the local African-American communities. In addition to that, in the month of February, our office will be putting together community engagement workshops, and you can certainly access information on our website. We are also going to have a spring open house in April. And if you want to hear from the academic departments, from engineering, from business, so forth, you can certainly connect. Right now, we are working on the modality because of the pandemic. We really don't have an answer right now in terms of whether this event will be in person or hybrid or virtually 100%. So again, just stay in touch if you're interested, and we will certainly be collaborating with the National Association of College Fairs. In addition to that, if you need access to our freshman brochure, transfer brochure, you can certainly access it via this presentation and our website as well. Next slide, please. If you want to come out and visit our beautiful campus, you can certainly do so. We have actually added in-person campus tours now, limited at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, and we still have virtual ones. So again, if you want to come and check out the campus to see if it's a good fit, you can certainly do that. If you also want to set up an appointment to meet with an advisor, you can certainly do that as well. We have outreach counselors available virtually and also in person. So again, everything is limited. So we highly encourage students to make those appointments to make sure that we do have capacity for them in a safe space that's definitely clean. And of course, making sure that we do keep that social distance. So again, if interested, make that appointment. And finally, thank you so much for your time. That is my contact information. Feel free to connect if you have any additional questions.
Wow, that is, again, another tall order to get so much information in such a short amount of time. Ms. Guerrero, thank you so very much. I don't know if we have any general, maybe one general question from our Q&A counselors that we need to address before we move on to the next presenter.
I see a couple of questions here and I'll take a few minutes to certainly address them. There's definitely more than one. So I'll get going with that.
Okay, maybe let's take maybe one question that looks like it's a common question that might benefit the group, and then the rest we might be able to answer in the Q&A chat.
Okay, so let's go ahead and all right, so there's a question about gosh, that's financial aid. Okay, in terms of, let's go ahead about, I'm not sure if this question is from me, from Harper. In terms of the median GPA for Cal State being at 3.5, does that take into account weighted classes or non-weighted classes? So the minimum GPA to apply to Cal State is a 2.5. Now, when it comes to the GPA that students are being considered for, it is a weighted. So if you are a student that definitely challenge yourself and you take AP courses or IB courses or honors courses, certainly you will get additional points for that. So it's the weighted GPA. And again, 2.5 is the minimum GPA. Again, the higher, the better.
Okay. Thank you so much. And again, because we have a few other presenters and we're kind of moving ourselves through different systems, and we're going to dive into the next system soon. But students, this is a good opportunity for me to remind you that the benefit of being here tonight is that you see all the things that you need to start researching. So you may not get all of your answers tonight, but the best thing is that you're going to know what kinds of questions you need to start asking yourself when it comes to majors and campuses, specific things about campuses. Those are the kind of questions we want you to ask yourself so that you can take the next several months to start doing that research. Each college has a website. Most schools will have outreach events, whether they're virtual or in person. So please use this as a springboard for those kinds of opportunities. Now, this is, I think, my 21st or 22nd year doing junior information night. And before I even came on board, Mr. Peter Osgood was a part of this panel. And so when we talk about a community partner, it doesn't get any better than that. And he has the tall order, of course, of explaining private colleges, of which there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Peter Osgood, Director of Admissions from Harvey Mudd College.
Thank you, Nikki. I'm going to try and get us a little closer to schedule and try to be as brief as possible. If you can go back one, this, yeah, okay, my screen just went out. There we go. What I have for you, this AICCU is the Association of Independent California Colleges and Universities. So it's private schools in this state only. There are other associations in other parts of the country. There are many, many, many private schools, and trying to characterize them is an impossible task because they range in size and shape and mission tremendously. If you go to but there is a website for this, aiccu.edu, which will give you brief descriptions of each of the schools. There's a lot, information on transfer pathways and access for low-income students. If we go to the next slide, please. I want to impress upon you students that there's a lot of information, but you're ridiculously lucky because you happen to be in a part of the country where you have access to see different kinds of institutions that might appeal to you before you start narrowing down which colleges you will actually apply to. Among the private institutions alone, keeping the UCs and Cal States and community colleges out of the conversation, there are research institutes. These are places like Caltech or Stanford, There are places like USC, and their main purpose is to provide the greater public with the scholarship that pushes them forward, pushes ideas forward. There are comprehensive universities. A reasonably close one to you would be Loyola Marymount University, which have some graduate programs. They have they have a strong undergraduate program as well. They may have a lot of master's programs, but they may be good choices for students. You have liberal arts and sciences colleges. You could get on a skateboard and get to them within a couple of minutes of your campus, because there are 5 of them right here in Claremont. And then you've got other ones like Occidental and so on and so forth, Whittier College. You've got religiously affiliated small colleges, places like Azusa Pacific, specialized schools like Otis College of Art and Design, and Lifetime Learning Schools. All those are within about a couple hours drive of you. And so it'd be really easy for you to understand what these schools offer you. But I want you to spend time, if I can invite you to do this, to reverse this. Rather than figuring them out first and figuring out what you're going to major in and what part of the country you want to live in, first spend time getting to know you. So in the next slide, some of this might be involved in the Find Your Path links that you'll see with your on your campus link. But another good resource for this is the College Board's Big Future site. The point I'm trying to stress is that if you can figure out why you want to go to college, what you want to get out of that college, rather than doing the thing that people expect you to do, it is going to be your education, not the education that your parents are going to undertake. Your Aunt Sally isn't going to be taking your midterm exams. I hope that she's not living in the dormitory with you. So it's your education. And I'd really like you to take advantage of it and take ownership of your future. A great moment was when my older son was visiting colleges. We had visited a school that he ended up thinking that would be his top choice when he was in 11th grade. And he ended up not even applying there. Why? Because he could imagine himself changing during college, and it was not the college he wanted to be, that he wanted to grow into. And he chose a different college entirely for that. So I'm asking you to take control over this conversation of which college suits you best by understanding how you learn best, what you want to accomplish, what would be a comfortable level of challenge, the people that you're going to be associating with, how diverse the school should be, and certainly the financial side. You may be surprised that private colleges might offer more financial aid than you might get at other state institutions. We go to the next slide. So there's the Big Future. There are other resources that I'm putting here. You see the net price calculator. There's some links there for you. There's another version called My Intuition that does much the same thing. So you could put in your family's own financial information and get kickback information about a rough approximation of what it would cost you to send a son or a daughter to one of these institutions. So if we can go to the next slide, it starts with you. It's your education, not somebody else's. Please don't just join the lemmings going off in a certain direction. This is your education. Try to be a pioneer about this. This is a lot of work to think about college, to research them, to identify your own strengths and weaknesses. So be organized in that, be realistic in your choices. And yes, go ahead, please go to the next slide. And there are important conversations that the family should have, the student with the parents, about costs. And it's important to have those fairly soon so that you set appropriate goals for yourself. But once again, with my example, your values may change. You're in a particular bubble now. You're going to be in a completely different bubble in university life. Some schools will serve you better than others. And try to identify you and then find the colleges matching up to you is the way I recommend you do this. But with that, I'm going to leave it very, very basic. I could talk for about a month and a half about Harvey Mudd College, but that is not my task.
And you have a really big task because, again, it's always a challenge to conceptualize all private colleges with one presentation, but you do an excellent job of that. Students and parents, what I hope you also take away is the fact that a lot of what Mr. Osgood said really also applies to what you've heard from our Cal State and from our community college rep. Look at yourself and find that match, not so much trying to meet what the school is looking for, but really find what's going to meet your needs, and how you're growing, how you want to grow as an individual. The best thing is that our presentation is going to be on our website. And I hope that this isn't the last night that you're going to listen to it, because the information you're getting from our presenters is going to resonate differently with you in a few months and even in the fall of your senior year. So Mr. Osgood, thank you so much for that. We appreciate your input and your contributions in the Q&A. Please keep doing that as people are asking questions. We so appreciate that. Next, we are going to move on to our UC representative. Mr. Mathis is from UC Santa Barbara. And again, he has the challenge of giving you an overview of the UC system. And so with that, I am going to hand it over to Mr. Marcus Mathis.
Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? So good to see y'all here virtually, right? My name is Marcus Mathis. I am a UCSB alumni. I grew up in LA, majored in art history and Black studies. And for a while, I was actually a retention counselor at UCSB. So I worked in the Education Opportunity Program, known as EOP. And I was actually what people that supported current UCSB students and making sure they graduated and helping them with their majors and financial aid and stuff. Now I'm happy to be in this new position in admissions, making sure that we have a strong student body coming in. So thank you so much for having me today. And I want to echo Mr. Aga's statement that, we're so lucky to live in California and have this amazing catalog of universities. We have the private schools, we have the amazing Cal State schools, and we have the UC schools. So we are very, very fortunate. I also want to say that I'm the father of a senior in high school, so I'm going through this process right now, and it is no fun. So I'm getting to my own medicine right now. So anyway, talking about the UC, right? The UC is known to be a research arm of academics, right? So a lot of what we do at the UC is going to provide you that fundamental basic theory and knowledge that's going to help you go on and create new knowledge, right? That's kind of the purpose. So what you're not going to find is as many courses that are going to tell you exactly how to do things, but really giving you that fundamental, those basics to help you go on and create new ideas and new ways of thinking. And you can see that that's happened in all areas, from health to agriculture to English and humanities. I myself, as an art history major in Black studies, I actually did my own research, right? When I was at UC Santa Barbara, I wanted to study that relationship between Black and Mexican artists during the Harlem Renaissance and the Mexican Muralist movement. So I spent 2 quarters doing research, and I worked at LA County Museum, and I learned that Diego Rivera had interns from Harlem, and Zero No Hurston had Mexican artists doing some of the cover art for her books. So I was able to study an issue. I had a question, and I was able to answer that question through my own academic lens, which in this case was art history. And that's what makes the UC campuses so amazing. Okay, next slide, please. They are very, very diverse, but we are a family, right? We're all, University of California is one system. We all talk, we all communicate. We actually have programs, intercampus visitor programs. I actually spent 2 courses at UCLA, right? So if you're a student at UC Santa Cruz and you want to talk to, have a professor from Berkeley, you can spend a quarter of Berkeley, semester at Berkeley. So you can do that kind of stuff. But as was being said earlier, you really, really want to find the campus that's best for you, right? We have a range and variety of courses, just like the Cal States and just like the private schools. We have larger campuses with 40,000 students like UC Davis. And we have smaller campuses like Merced, right? UCSB is right in the middle. We have around 23,000, but there's so much variety, right? If you want to go to school in a large city, you can do that. If you want to go to school in a smaller city, you can do that. For myself, growing up in Inglewood and coming to Santa Barbara, it was a very, very jarring, but really nice change of pace for me. And I highly encourage you all to, check things out, see what you feel, see where you perform the best, because that's what we want you to win. We want you to succeed in what you're doing, and choosing to go somewhere where you're going to thrive and see yourself is going to be the best for everybody, right? Next slide, please. Now there's one application, right? Just like with the Cal States and the Common App, you can apply to all 9 UC schools on one application, $70 per campus. We all see the same personal insight questions. We all see the same activities and awards. Everybody sees the exact same stuff. You can qualify for a fee waiver, right? Where you get up to 4 campuses for free to where you can apply. And you can see here, the deadline was November 30th. For juniors, you guys can start actually in August, opening up your application and filling things out. And I would even encourage you maybe in the summertime to start working on your personal insight questions, which I'll talk about later, and kind of getting those refined to where you feel very, very comfortable with them. But we do have very, very similar admissions processes, and I'll cover that in a second. So one thing I will say about these campuses is that, just like in any campus, what you'll remember the most from your experience might not be a class you took or a midterm, right? It could be having a roommate from a different part of the country, or being part of a student org and learning how to navigate social circumstances. So what we call this is the hidden curriculum. You're learning how to manage your time, how to manage your stress, public speaking, analysis. These are things you're going to learn while you're in your college experience. And at the UC, we really want to focus on those experiences to make sure you're getting those experiences. But when it comes to admissions and academics, we do have these 2 now, right? I'll say 2 requirements that we're looking at. We're looking at the A through Gs, and we're looking at your GPA requirements. UC is now test free, right? And I'll make that very, very clear. We do not look at your SATs. If you took the SAT or ACT, when we're doing evaluation, we do not see the score, right? I read every year. I've read about 300 applications this year, and we do not see the SAT score. Other things we don't see while I'm thinking about it, we don't see your name, right? We don't see your gender. We don't see your ethnicity. We don't see any of that information when we're actually doing evaluation of your records. And I think that gives things a pretty nice balance. So A through Gs, and Dulce covered this really, really nicely. We have the exact same A through G requirements, right? Make sure you knock these out. Claremont's a great school, and you have amazing counselors. They're going to make sure that you're meeting these requirements. What I'll say is that, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, not having an SAT or not having the ACT, it's great because a lot of people we're not scoring very well on those exams. But the effect of that is that there is a stronger focus on academics, right? There's going to be a stronger focus on course selection and course rigor. So as juniors, I know as a senior, you might have the opportunity to go home at lunch, right? You finish all your coursework, you got all your A through Gs done. It's not gonna help you when you're applying to these schools now, because we are paying attention to how many A through Gs you're taking, how many science, how many math, things like that, right? Now, the GPA is going to be determined by your 10th and 11th grade A through G scores. That means your 9th grade math class will not count towards your UC GPA. Your 11th grade PE class will not count towards your UC GPA. We do look at advanced courses, right? The honors courses, the UC approved honors courses, AP and IB. Now, those will get an extra grade point, but only up to 8 semester units are going to get that extra grade point, right? So if you took 4 APs or honors classes in your sophomore year and you took 6 in your junior year, only 8 of those are going to be counted towards your UC GPA. So the highest GPA you can have for the UC application is going to be a 4.4. Okay, so like I said, no SATs, no ACTs. We don't use those anymore, right? But the AP exams we can look at, right? So if you're taking AP exams, if 3 or higher, we'll get you a pass for those AP exams, and some of those scores can knock out requirements like writing requirements, English requirements, even some major requirements can be satisfied with high scores in AP exams. Now, if you get 3 or higher on 3 exams, that makes you an AP scholar, right? And that does help with your selectivity. Getting a 5 or more with a 3 or higher score makes you an AP scholar with distinction. And that's another honor that some of our students are getting here. So it does help you take the AP test. Now, we're looking at these requirements, right? So many factors, right? All UCs are looking at these factors, but we all tend to focus on different ones, right? So outside of the A through G requirements and outside of the requirements in terms of your GPA, some of us focus more on certain things. For example, right, we're looking at academic opportunities in California high schools, right? Those could be programs like AVID, right? Programs that our students get involved with. Being part of those programs are going to help you in terms of your selectivity. Special talents, achievements, and awards, obviously, are very clear indicators of student success. Things like leadership, students that really pay attention to maybe one specific area. Maybe you're really, really good at the piano, or you're really into art, or you're really into acting and drama and theater, right? These are all ways that you can express who you are in your application. So these 13 points are really important. I would also look at, let's see, quality of senior year. I mentioned that earlier. And also the courses you're taking, right? Again, we do want to see, even though we're only using 8 of these AP courses or honors courses for your GPA, at this point, we're not using SAT. A lot of us are looking for a stronger course load, right? We want to see students pushing themselves. That doesn't only include APs though, right? You can go do dual enrollment. That's a great opportunity to really increase your thirst for knowledge. We do actually look for students that are showing and demonstrating that they're interested in moving to the next level and looking for ways to increase their learning through internships and research and things like that as well. Okay, that's the comprehensive review process, right? Now, the way this is going to work is that we have faculty committees that kind of decide what the requirements are and what each campus is going to emphasize in their admissions, right? We cannot Google stuff. And I know sometimes students will put their YouTube channel, they'll say, I have 100,000 followers on YouTube, check it out. Can't do that, right? We can't go to your Etsy website. We cannot do those things. What's really important, and I'll look at the PIQs later, but think of those PIQs or personal multi questions as your interview, right? And you want to find ways to show us who you are for all these questions. There are 8 questions, right? And you have to answer 4 of them. So don't worry about answering questions that you don't feel comfortable answering. There are questions about leadership. There are questions about talent, questions about overcoming challenges, all these different kind of questions we're going to ask you. You pick 4 of them, right? And what you're not going to see anywhere on the application is the word essay, because they're not essays, right? An essay is going to have an intro and a body and a conclusion. If you spend 1/3 of your time, with your intro saying what you're going to say, another third repeating what you said to summarize it, you're wasting 2/3 of your space, right? So think of these as short answer responses. Get straight to the point, right? We want to know the details. If you were in a sport, what was it, varsity or was it junior varsity? Were you captain? Tell us about the experiences. We want to see clarity and we want to see details when we're looking at these, because this is our only way to get to know who you are. And it's really, really important. I mean, the worst thing for me is reading these PIQs and having all these remaining questions. I'm like, what happened next? So it's really important that these are clear and concise. And this is a challenge in learning how to write and express a lot in a very, very short amount of time. Selecting a major. Now, UCs are a lot different. And there are a lot of really, really good questions in the chat about what majors are better for what, like English or political science. We are going to have a lot of different kinds of majors, but they could be interpreted or named even differently, right? For example, psychology at UC Irvine is not the same as psychological and brain sciences at UCSB, right? So psychological and brain sciences focuses more on the neurology component than the social component. So you want to be looking at these UC schools and pay attention to what the majors are described as, because they're really going to inform what the curriculum is going to look like. And a lot of campuses might not admit by major. UC Santa Barbara does not admit by major. That means whether you're applying as an English major or a chemistry major, we're not going to evaluate your application any differently, right? Unless you're doing engineering or something like that. Other campuses, though, are not the same, right? If you're applying to UC Irvine or UCLA's nursing program, they have very, very limited space. So they are going to be evaluating by major. So one question you want to ask whenever you talk to a UC rep is, do you admit by major? Because that's a big deal. You want to make sure you can pick a major and an alternate major. So what I would highly suggest is that you pick one major that you really like. And if that major is impacted or if it's very selective, then your secondary major or alternate should be one that's maybe not as selective, so you can still get your chance. Financial aid. This was covered so well by Ms. Lewis and Ms. Guerrero. The financial aid piece is so important. Myself having a senior, I'm learning this the hard way. Fill out that FAFSA, get it done. It's so important. I remember when I was 15, I got a job at Taco Bell because I didn't know about financial aid, right? And now I know that you can actually get that stuff covered. I will also say that financial aid is not as robotic as it may seem sometimes, right? So when I was a student at UCSB, my mom passed away and my mom was the only one working in the household. So my family income went from a certain amount to 0, right? Now, I didn't drop out of school. I went to my financial aid office and I was like, so I had a change in income, right? And they really, really supported me in getting all that paperwork in to help me get a revised financial aid letter. I know there's so many families dealing with so many things financially right now, that through these kind of processes, make sure you communicate with the financial aid folks. Once you get admitted to the schools and start talking with them, you know, because there are things they can do, right? Financial aid, the UCs can be a little more expensive, right, than the Cal States. Now, the benefit of this is going to be that a lot of the expenses are not really mandatory expenses. Like, for example, you have your tuition and fees, which is one component. The room and board here is actually a little bit higher than it can be. You know, if you live in a double or a triple or a single, it's gonna range, right? Books and supplies, $1,200 a year. If you're a bio major, yeah, very, very likely. You know, if you're not, you might not spend that much. So it really does differ, but your financial aid is really gonna support these things. We do have two kinds of scholarships. At the UC, the vast majority of financial aid is gonna be need-based, right? That means it's gonna be based on your family income. That's 95% of our financial aid. We do also offer, though, we have a blue and gold scholarship for families that make up to $80,000 a year. And we also have a middle class scholarship for families that make up to $184,000 a year. So there is going to be some support for you no matter what your income is. And the dates and deadlines, right? August 1st, you can open up that app and start applying, start looking through it, right? Submit by the 30th. Now, in mid-March is when those letters start coming in, right? You start finding out you got admitted here or there. The advice I saw earlier, apply broadly, is such a good idea because you want to go visit those campuses. You want to make sure that you see yourself there and you can succeed there, and that school has what you need, right? So you have until May 1st to do this. But I will say, I didn't mention as much, but the transfer option is amazing, right? Transferring is such a great option for so many students, especially if you're not sure what you want to do. And Ms. Mitchell has another great example, right? It's not just because maybe you didn't care when you're in high school, but maybe you wanted to go to UCLA and you got into Santa Barbara and Irvine and Stanford, but you want to go to UCLA. So you're going to transfer to UCLA. And I've seen students do that exact same thing as well. We do have transfer admissions guarantees. All the UCs except for LA, Berkeley, and San Diego have transfer admissions guarantees. So based on your major, if you meet a certain GPA at your city college, it's not about do I get in, it's about when am I going to go to that particular UC school. And if you have any questions, I want to make myself a resource. Please shoot me an email. My email address is right there. Feel free to reach out. I want to answer your questions. I want to help. Me coming from a counseling background, it's hard for me not to, so I really want to be here to support your efforts. Hit the QR code if you want to learn more about our campus. We'll start sending you emails. I promise we won't spam you, but we'll send you some good stuff over the course of the next few months up on your way to application. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mathis. You will be back next year, we hope. And thank you for answering so many of the questions that are in the chat. I understand that there are a lot of them. I believe there's one particular question my colleagues are saying that might be good to address about an out-of-state question.
Good question. Okay, so between out-of-state and in-state students, there are some differences. As Dulce mentioned, same for us, right? So the minimum GPA is a 3.0 for California residents. For out-of-state residents, it's a 3.5, right? So it's a lot different for out-of-state students. In addition, these honors courses that are in California that are UC and Cal State approved honors courses, we don't have those for out-of-state schools, right? So if you're from a high school in a different state, those honors courses are not going to get the extra grade point, right? So those are two main kind of disadvantages for students that are not California residents. So in that sense, yeah, we do prioritize California residents. We definitely, depending on the school you're looking at, we have international students, quite a bit, right? We do have quite a few out-of-state students, but our application process is going to require, right? It's a statewide mandate that we have the majority of our students, the vast majority are California residents. And we also have what's called a 2-for-1 mandate, meaning that for every 2 freshmen that we admit, we're admitting 1 transfer student, right? And UC prioritizes California community college transfers over any other transfer program.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate all that information and your contributions in the Q&A. This is so valuable. And the question is, how can it get any better than this? You've heard from so many experts. Well, I always say every year, I think that the next presenter, our student presenter, is probably one of the most valuable parts of this component, because this is somebody who has your same voice. This is somebody who's just gone through this process. And so each year we always try to find a senior who was in your shoes a year ago, somebody who came to junior night, had lots of questions, wasn't afraid to ask questions, and somebody who I was able to kind of watch their process and watch their questions about scholarships and different things. And I think this is somebody who could be valuable to you, to give you some key insight as far as how to get through the rest of this year, how to really tackle next year, and how to think about things from a different perspective. So we've got 2 presenters to go, really valuable information. We're kind of in the home stretch. I think this is valuable. I'm going to turn it over to Miss Corrine Holstrom, one of our CHS seniors. Take it over, Corrine.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell, and hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Corrine Holstrom, and I'm a senior this year. I'm super excited to be here to share some of my experience and advice with all of you. I know this can be a stressful yet very exciting time, but at the end, I promise it's super rewarding. The first thing I'd like to start out with is your resources. As a CHS student, you have plenty of resources to help guide you through this process. SchoolLinks, as Mr. Trosh mentioned earlier, is the platform that we use for submitting transcripts, letters of recommendation, and it's also a really useful tool for college and scholarship research. Your counselors are also a great resource available to you during school hours and via email. Setting up meetings to go over your applications and answer any questions you may have regarding the process is beyond helpful. All the counselors here at CHS are incredible and have plenty of experience in the college process, so definitely take advantage of that. One important piece of the college application process is letters of recommendation. Whether you're a student applying to many private and out-of-state schools, or you're just interested in seeking out scholarships, you will most likely need to submit 2 letters of recommendation. This does not apply to every school though, so I suggest doing research into the schools you're interested in and getting your materials from there. A letter of recommendation is a chance for a teacher or administrator to illuminate why you as a student would be a great fit for that school. Teachers, as you may know, are insanely busy during the beginning of the school year, so it's really important to seek out and ask teachers to write this letter by the end of your junior year, so the end of this school year. That way, they can even begin writing while they have you in the classroom to evaluate your work ethic, your strengths, and your characteristics. Ask teachers that you really have a connection with, especially if that teacher is the subject of your field of interest. The next point I'd like to touch on that's already been talked about a little bit is scholarships. There are many scholarships that go unused each year simply because students do not make the effort to find them. Utilizing SchoolLinks and College Board to find scholarships that pertain to you and your experiences is the best way to help you get to college. Connecting with your counselor and doing research are ways to ensure that you are in an ideal financial position when applying to colleges, because that can be a real stressor for a lot of students. The most daunting piece of college applications for many students is the writing portions. I know that it was a big stressor for me. For some applications, it might be an essay, while others, like the UCs, have shorter personal insight questions. While these may seem really intimidating, this is the place in your application to express what makes you, you. No 2 students are alike, and each of you hold unique experiences and qualities that would make you a valuable candidate for any given school. One key thing to remember here is that there is no right or wrong answer to an essay topic or question. It's about sharing your background, personality, interests, and achievements in your own unique way. I found it really useful to have people outside of my inner circle read my writing and give me feedback. That way these people could give me suggestions and guide me through it, utilizing suggestions and guidance from others, but not losing my authenticity as a student, a leader, and a person. One aspect of the admissions process that was really difficult for me was determining what exactly I wanted to major in. This portion scared me a lot because I felt like I was determining the rest of my life through one application, which is not the case. I suggest really looking at your hobbies, your passions, and having those guide you to a major. Look at things like your extracurricular activities and what makes you the happiest. You can even ask others, especially trusted adults in your life, what they believe your strengths are, and this can help shape an idea of what your major you would find interesting and be successful in. For me, I've always felt my best when I'm helping and serving others, which is why I chose to major in psychology. That way I can explore something that really piqued my interest in high school when I took IB psychology my junior year, and I can also help others through therapy and counseling. Throughout this process, you really have to work on prioritizing your mental health and emotional needs. That's a really important part of it. Applying to colleges can be super stressful, so find ways to manage that stress that work for you. For me, I delegate certain times to working, then take breaks, which could mean listening to music, watching my favorite shows, or taking a walk. The past few years have been really challenging and emotionally draining for all of us, and you have all experienced immense change. If organization was challenging for you during online school and in this transition back to school, this year is your opportunity to really find what tools work best for you. For me, using an agenda or daily planner is great for prioritizing important tasks and for time management. I highly suggest that. The school provides one too if you need it. And a lot of this, if not all of it, is new information in the college process, so don't be afraid to reach out for help. If needed, find a trusted adult and ask them for support or guidance during this time. While applications don't officially open until certain dates, as mentioned before, there are plenty of things that you can do to prepare for when they do. Seek out volunteer opportunities and internships to broaden your career search. Simply hop on a computer and take virtual tours. A lot of campuses have awesome resources right at your fingertips. Set monthly goals and link your reminders and agenda to stay on top of due dates. That was really helpful for me. Creating a folder of Google Drive and place all of your brainstorming, research, and miscellaneous application files in one place. You could even include this recorded Zoom here. That way, when you go to start your application, all of your resources will be there and ready for you to use. I highly recommend considering applying early action to colleges that you're interested in if they offer it. I did that for a lot of my colleges. Early action isn't the same as early decision. It's non-binding, which means that you do not have to go there if you get in. What it does mean is like an earlier due date, but you will hear back earlier and not have to nervously wait as long for a response. I know that was a huge help for me because I'm a worrier and overthinker, so that really helped me not having to wait several months for feedback. One quote, if you look at the next slide, that a teacher once told me is work expands to fill the time available for its completion. And I found that that really rang true in the college application process. Once school starts up again in the fall of your senior year and, assignments are piling up, as well as social events and other priorities, it adds on a ton of stress. If you keep the mindset of, I have until January and November to get these done, you will most likely wait to start your application material and stress yourself out a whole lot more. Getting a head start right now and in the summer will make for a complete and thorough application in the fall. Plus, you'll be confident that you put your all into it. It's extremely rewarding and relieving to know that you put pieces of you into these applications, and it truly is exciting to review your academic and personal achievements and challenges when doing them. There are a lot of things that I wish someone would have told me before I went through this process, but I think the most important would be that everybody's journey looks different. What's best for you and your future may not be what was best for your best friend or your sibling or even your shoulder partner in one of your classes. As you start to research new schools and programs, stay open to new possibilities. Pursue happiness and do that through research and find schools that you're interested in. Devote your time and effort to schools and programs that truly excite you the most. Be authentic and thoughtful in your applications. In opposition to common belief, you don't need to have it all figured out, which is something that I really struggle with. It's okay to not know exactly what you want to do because I'm right there with you. I'm really excited for college because I know I will have the opportunity to grow and explore new topics that really capture my interest. And there are a lot of people that are here for you, so don't hesitate to reach out and ask for help. As you've seen, all these amazing presenters, they're all here to help you, any questions you have. This process can be really stressful and confusing, but I know that you can handle it. Starting early is the best way to avoid challenges, and you're already one step ahead by joining this Zoom tonight. I wish you all the best of luck, and if you have any further questions or need some advice, I have my email listed here on the slide, but I'm going to pass the mic off to Miss Abear.
Well, Karina, I don't think that I could have made a better selection for our student representative. So thank you so, so much for your honesty and just being willing to share your experience. And I'll say it again, This will be on our website, and students and parents at different times, you may want to actually listen to different parts of what you're hearing tonight because it'll resonate in a different way. So I really would encourage you to go back and listen to what Karina is saying about that timeliness piece, doing things in the spring. Students, we're going to be talking to you about that, about deadlines and meeting some deadlines this spring. So as long as you keep listening to what we're telling you and monitor those deadlines, we will do our best to keep you on track. We have one more small piece of information that's very important, and a lot of our presenters have covered it, but we have Mrs. Hebert who is going to give just a little bit of an overview about testing. You know, there are a lot of questions that have to do with testing and do I need to test and what does that mean? So we're going to wrap with Ms. Hebert and discussion about testing.
Thank you. All right, so if some of you have older siblings or parents with older children, you will have seen a big change in the landscape of admission testing in the last 5 years. And there had been a growing movement to re-explore the importance and value of admission testing in college admissions. And then the pandemic really accelerated this whole process. So we're going to try to outline some of the big things to look out for as you approach admission for college in the fall of 2023. Next slide, please. You may hear some terms tonight, as well as in your college search in the months ahead. You may hear about test-free, test-blind, test-optional. Test-free means that tests are not required. The UC system is an example of that. They do not require tests for the next few years. Test-blind would include schools that if you send a test score, they're never going to look at it. You can send it, they'll accept it, and then they'll pretty much delete it. Test optional is probably the trickiest. Test optional means that schools may request a test for scholarships. They may request a test for impacted majors, examples being nursing and engineering, very popular, very selective majors. Or it may be that the school is saying, you decide if you want to submit your test scores. If your test scores reflect your strengths shown in the classroom, then we want to see that. And teasing out the differences among different schools' preferences can be difficult. So let's kind of guide you through that next step. Next slide, please. If you're wondering if you should take the ACT or the SAT this fall or spring of your junior year, you can look at that as you're looking at your college options. The national test schedule for SAT and ACT is available. You could start testing as early as March if you wish, and you can test March, May, and June, and there are fall exam dates available for you to test. If you know for sure you're only applying to, say, the UC system in the fall, then you don't need to test. But chances are you don't know that right now. And if you should discover a school that you do want to apply to that has a test optional, or having a good test score can assist you with acceptance and your admission criteria, then you may want to have a test score in your pocket, if you will, so that you can use it at a later date. In summary, the UC system does not require SAT or ACT for the class of 2023 for freshman admission in 2023. As we've heard tonight, the CSU has not yet finalized what their requirements will be for testing. We promise you at Claremont High School that we will keep all of you posted as we learn more information about that. Ms. Guerrero was very generous to offer her help, and I can promise you that the counseling staff at CHS will keep all of you posted on that. Aspiring athletes, if you are registering with the NC2A, and this is a separate discussion that we'll have with you in the month of February as we launch registration, but if you are an aspiring athlete, for the last 2 years, the NC2A has suspended testing because of the pandemic, but they have not yet announced what they want for testing for Division I and Division II. We'll keep you posted on that too. Many colleges in the US, I'd say almost 3/4 of the US colleges and universities in the last few years have been test optional, especially with the pandemic. Highly selective campuses and majors may want to see a test score, particularly in highly selective majors. So if you are a good test taker, if you are a good student, it would not hurt you to take the SAT or ACT this spring or in the fall. You do not have to share the test scores at this point with any college or university. It could be an indicator of your strength. So our suggestion as a department is consider taking the SAT or ACT. It won't hurt you. You don't have to share it at this point. And if you should need it, it would be available for you should you discover a school that would like to see it. And because those would like to see it schools are varying and still evolving at this point in time, we want to give you all the options you have to make as many choices for your future as possible. I will note too that some colleges and universities have been asking to see AP and IB scores as a way to demonstrate mastery in a subject area. So if you've taken or will be taking AP or IB exams, keep that in mind too. That could also help you. AP and IB are not admission test scores, but they're being used by some colleges to assess mastery. What are the SAT and the ACT? They're two different exams used for admissions for many years. The SAT is primarily evidence-based reading and writing and mathematics. Their score range is listed here, 200 to 800 for each section. And this slide has an error. You do not need the SAT essay for UCs. Again, UC is test free. The ACT is a slightly different comprised test. It's 25% English, 25% math, 25% reading, and 25% science. Do not be frightened by the science. It is basic science information that you have been learning in biology, chemistry classes. It is not random knowledge, facts, or formulas on the fly. There is an optional writing assessment on the ACT, and again, UC does not require testing. I apologize for that error on that slide. You can sign up directly for the SAT or ACT. We're not intermediaries at Claremont High School to help you sign up. You sign up on your own. The websites are listed. And on the Claremont High School counseling webpage, you will see the SAT and ACT registration dates, the test dates, as well as the link to sign up. Generally speaking, you want about 5 weeks between the registration deadline and the test deadline so that you can find a campus close to home, ideally Claremont High School. Next slide, please. The PSCT, a preliminary SAT, was a test that we administered in October. If you took the PSAT, know that that is not an admission test, but it is a test that kind of gives you some feedback on your strengths in reading, math, and writing structure. If you performed well on the PSAT, you may be eligible for national merit, and that will be announced in the month of February. And if that is your situation, you are in a really good contention for not only admissions, but also scholarship opportunities. But national merit can be very much value added in college admission. The PSAT, again, is not an admission test. Scores were shared directly to students from College Board, and it was sent to an email that you provided when you took the test. If you took the test and you have heard nothing from College Board, please come to the guidance office and we will assist you. College Board also has a feature called Big Future. You are given access to Big Future with your PSAT scores and your ID number. And Big Future is a great resource for looking up colleges, careers, majors. If you are a full IB diploma candidate, Big Future will not share your credit for IB scores for placement in college, but just keep that in mind. And counselors, we will be reminding you of that as well. But Big Future is a really good search engine. So Fair Test is an organization that has been really instrumental in having colleges look at the importance, the value, and some of the weaknesses of admission testing. They have a list of over 1,800 colleges that are currently considered test optional. So if the whole idea of testing on a Saturday, the SAT, the ACT doesn't float your boat, maybe you go on the Fair Test website and take a look at some of the schools that are test optional. And Khan Academy, many of you are using Khan Academy, we hope, in the classroom. Khan Academy has partnered with College Board, who prepares the SAT, and they have great free SAT prep to help prepare you. The ACT program also has free test prep, but not quite the same as Khan Academy in our opinion. If you are taking the SAT or ACT in the spring and the fall, you have financial need, please come to the office and we can help you with the fee waiver portion to make the test free to you. Fee waivers are available from the testing agencies. And that's it.
Wow. Well, we have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much, Ms. Hebert. Again, especially in these times of uncertainty about the tests and different schools making different decisions about testing, it's a lot to process. And so we appreciate your summary of that. Families, if you are burning with questions, you know what, you should give yourself a round of applause because questions are good. And also give a round of applause to our presenters, our panel. We are so fortunate that year after year, we are able to have such a wealth of experience that comes in and can talk to you and can tell you the specific things that you're asking about. And I mean what I say when I say that if you have questions, that is a good thing. Tonight wasn't to answer every single question, but to get you to realize there's a lot to think about along the way between now and next December, when many of you are going to be submitting those applications. We are here to help you with that. Students, we will be in your classrooms as early as February 17th. We'll begin junior class registration and we'll go into your English classes to talk to you about that process of selecting classes for next year. And then March 1st through the 11th, we will be meeting with juniors through your social science class to go over your credits, talk about your post-graduation plans, and confirm your course requests. So this is just to kind of whet your appetite, get you thinking, and we will be meeting with you in your classrooms and one-on-one. And we will be hosting different things in this spring at lunchtime, just to kind of give you an overview of different things that we may have touched on tonight, but maybe just to go into a little more depth. Again, on our CHS website, you will find a handout, important dates for juniors. If you want to do something before you go to bed, download that. You can see kind of a timeline of what we're going to be doing this spring and even into the fall. And we'll be giving that out as well when we visit your classrooms. It has been a long night, but I hope that you've come away with a lot of insight and you feel empowered. Maybe we'll hold on. You are free to go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Maybe we'll stay for another 5 minutes for questions. And I'm not seeing the questions in the chat, so I'll ask my colleagues if there are any questions that we think we want to tackle before we close out the meeting. We can do that at this time. And for the rest of you, if you don't have questions, have a great evening.
There was one question that I wanted to see if we could answer live, Ms. Hebert, our expert in this. It had a question about subject tests and what's happened with those.
The subject tests went away abruptly last spring. College Board announced in February that subject tests were being discontinued, and they have not been available for almost 11 months, 10 months. So if you took a subject test, great, but there is no way to take a subject test anymore at this time.
I had a question about where this video will be posted. It will be up on the Counselor YouTube channel, which is linked on the CHS website. And for a brief period of time, it'll also be on that CHS Counseling Department homepage, right where you actually found the link for this one. The video will be up there as well. That should be up within a couple of days.
Mr. Troche, someone also asked the question, will the chat questions be saved?
Yes, I will be saving the chat questions. I don't know where we'll post them. I'm not sure what format it comes in, but I have found that we can save the chat questions.
Have a great night, y'all. I'm gonna get my butt home. Any questions, please email me.
Thank
Thank you so much.
We
Okay,
appreciate you, definitely.
Thank y'all.
Our presenters have had a very, very long evening. Thank you so much. Since I'm sharing, I still can't see. I don't know if Kareen is still here. Thank you, Kareen, for just being available and sharing something that's still so fresh for you. All of our presenters, thank you for providing your contact information. I'm sure you'll hear from some of the families who were on tonight. Ms. Lewis, of course, we hope to see you in the fall. You'll be hearing from me. Thank you so much for being here.
And I'm not crushed because I don't have cookies.
I'm sorry there are no cookies. One day when we're in person again.
You guys have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Mr. Troche.